And welcome again to Cottage Talk Full Time. I'm Russ Goldman. Joining me right now is Giannis Janaeus. In this episode, we're going to look back at Fulham's 4-1 victory against Barnsley at Craven Cottage, which, yes, Giannis, puts Fulham atop of the league, at least for tonight, and also gives us a 9-point cushion for automatic promotion. We have to talk about that as well. And Giannis, unfortunately, is not on camera, but we have Giannis via audio. So, Giannis, how you doing?
Well, as I said to you before, I've got the face for radio. So I'm delighted to be on another win. It's in a day where all the results seem to go for us. So
That's right.
we go top of the table. And screw Barnsley. I don't know if you saw their Twitter account before the game.
No, I did not.
Yeah, they tweeted that the both teams have come out on the pitch and the clappers are going. I thought, really?
Enough with that. Enough with talk on the clappers. I've had it up to here with the clapper talk, okay?
Yeah, like, really? Enough. Go back to your miserable South Yorkshire. Go back up there. Go on. Off you go. See you later. Up the M1, you buggers. So it's nice to get the win and shut them up.
I didn't know that, Giannis, so actually, thank you for sharing that. Okay. But the big news, before we really talk about the match, I do want to mention this. As you mentioned, the results went our way because West Brom lost today. Yeah. Giannis, this is big news. Regardless of what happens on Sunday with Bournemouth, Fulham have a 9-point cushion, Giannis.
Yeah.
That, to me, is amazing right now. All you can do is continue to win. And this is such a big thing right now. And I don't think people realize how huge a 9-point cushion is. Now, again, it could shrink at any time. But to be up 9 points right now, Giannis, is massive.
Yeah, it's huge. And really, to all intents and purposes, it's actually 4 games. Because our goal difference. And poor, I mean, they went up to Huddersfield, and you always got the thought there might be a bit of a banana skin going up there because they tend to play well at home. Jake Livermore got sent off as well, so that doesn't help them. So he's gone for 3 games straight red. So Coventry drew at the Blades.
That's right.
So we've got Derby. So we're only 44 points clear of them at the moment. So it's getting tight at the top. But I do think now, we need to take advantage. We've got that, and then we've got Preston. These are the games. They can always be tricky after the international break, Russ. I mean, they did the double overs under Struber 2 seasons ago. We know that the new bosses coming is going to be looking to pull in the high press. How did the boys react after the international break was always going to be a problem because, you got players like Bobby Reed has played a couple of games for Jamaica. I know Tim Ream stayed back, but Anthony Robinson as well. Micho had obviously an extremely emotional week. Jean-Michel Seri played as well.
That's right.
Harry Wilson played as well. So how do you react to that? But this is a really good win against a team that are struggling but do have some quality. But we managed to get the 3 points, which is a good thing.
And that's the bottom line, Giannis, because that's why I wanted to start by talking about the cushion Fulham have, because at this point, do I want to be entertained? Absolutely. Are they entertaining? Yes. But most importantly, it's getting back to the Premier League, and they are edging closer to that. I know where we are. We're only in November, but you're already making strides towards that. And that, to me, is massive. You have to take advantage of the teams in front of you and the teams that you should beat. They should beat this side. They did today. It was a struggle at times, Giannis, and I want to start by just mentioning this, and then we're going to talk about all the different parts of the match. But Barnsley were tough to start the match. Like you said, they were out to impress the new manager. They were, again, not giving us much time on the ball. And I just want to start out by giving them credit. I know they lost 4-1, but you know what? They didn't come here just to settle. They came here to fight. And they showed that in the beginning stages of the match. But as we're seeing over and over again, even in the tough parts of the match, and I want to say the beginning stages of the match, Fulham were not off at the races. They just weren't. So for me to get through that and then let the quality shine with the goals that came, That's the difference. That's what we're seeing. It's the ability to score at any time. And honestly, they could have scored 5, 6, 7 today. They really could. They had that opportunity. So 4-1 is not a flattering result. It could have been worse, but I want to give credit to Barnsley for the way they approached the match. They played at Craven Cottage to try to get something out of it. It just didn't fall their way today because in the end, Fulham have a much more talented side, Giannis.
Yeah, we do. I think Marco Silva's very much a terra firma coach. So he talked in the break about, wanting to, we've had 6 on the trot. We've had 5 clean sheets. Roddy's been in net. Not to get too ahead of ourselves. It's not the end of the season. Nothing's been decided. And I think, being the coach that he is, he'll be pleased with the result. I think he'll be a little annoyed at conceding a goal against Barnsley. I think he's going to look at it and go,
I think he will.
Yeah, like, okay, 4-1, great. It was really never in doubt. We got off to a slow start, post-international break in front of our fans. We've got the job done, but you're 3 goals up and you concede one. And I think that's the sign of a great coach that will be relentless. And I'm sure that practice on Monday, because they've got one practice before they'll have the walkthrough on Tuesday. On Monday, he's probably going to turn around and say, you know what, great result, but I'm not happy about conceding a goal to Barnsley. They've scored 12, 13 goals or whatever it is all year. It's, let's not think that we're better than we really are. Against better teams, they might punish. You could be 2 goals up and they get one back and all of a sudden you're in trouble. So he'll look at the table tonight and he'll say, well, we've got a goal difference of plus 33. We're 9 points clear of West Brom, who have a goal difference of plus 11. We are now 13 points clear of 7th. I think, at Huddersfield right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, plus it's really 5 games because Huddersfield have a goal difference of plus 2. So that's good. But we've got no international break until March. We've got 3 games this week. We've got the game, which I'm sure that he's not talked about, the Bournemouth game on Friday night. Plus, the Christmas break is going to be difficult. We've got a couple of interesting games coming up. Preston away, early kickoff, not going to be easy. We haven't played Luton yet. We've not played Sheffield United yet.
No, we have not.
No, so we can't count our chips.
No.
We'll take each game as it comes, and the only thing that does worry me, and I nearly found the nearest mountain when I heard this quote yesterday from Marco, is when he said that.
I know where you're going. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ivan Cavallero was going to be out.
I knew you were going there.
And I was thinking, let's hope he's training with Southend United, because I think we riot if Cavallero's back in the line. We riot because there is nowhere in that.
I don't see it, Giannis. I still don't see the love affair that Parker had and now that Silva has with Ivan Cavallero.
Yeah,
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
No, I don't either. And I think, with the transfer window coming up, it's actually an important transfer window because of trying to prepare for hopefully will be Premier League football. And a couple of these players like Ian Nocky, Mawson as well, to be, loaned out, give them some time and what have you. But he can't be anywhere close to the 11. There's just no way. No, really no. I'm also conversely hoping that because Fabio Carvalho started today, maybe, just maybe, this is the prelude in the back where they're doing things quietly. They're not doing what Newcastle have done, where everybody knows their business, and guess what? They're bottom of the league. So maybe something quiet is happening, but game's done. Derby County Wednesday night. Derby play the Cherries tomorrow. I fancy that Derby are not going to be in a good mood. I think it's a tough game for the Cherries, and I don't think it'll be easy when we play Derby on Wednesday, because right now, if I'm a Derby player, I'm going, we've got nothing to lose here. Let's just go out and have a laugh for the next.
Just play.
Just play.
Just play.
Just play. That's it.
And I'm glad that you brought up Derby County because, again, Fulham will be playing them in midweek, but they have a match against Bournemouth. They have nothing to lose. We'll see what happens. But regardless, tonight, Fulham are top of the league, and that to me is a wonderful thing, yes. I do want to mention that I was speaking to a friend about this. I do plan on doing a special episode, and I would like you to be a part of it, where we're going to talk about the transfer window. We're going to talk about the approach, because I'm glad that you brought this up. it's really not for Cottage Talk full time, but I'm curious about the approach in January. Do you try to build your team looking forward to the Premier League in January because of everything that's going to happen over the summer, getting ready for the World Cup? That's going to be, again, roughly coming up in about a year from now. Do you do your business in January? So that's something that I want to talk about in a separate episode about the transfer window. I find it fascinating. We will do that on Cottage Talk. Anyways, let's get back to talking about this victory, Giannis. And I'm glad that we're talking a little bit about Barnsley. And I want to mention, I thought Marek Rodak came up big when he was asked to. There was a save that, again, in the first half could have changed the match. It might be a save that goalkeepers make, but I thought that was key. After that, we have the opportunity from Fulham and Michael Hector. We're going to talk a little bit about him in just a second, Giannis, because I want to get your thoughts about his play. But before we do that, he hits the post, and that gives us that opportunity, like, okay, are things going to go our way? Well, they do, Giannis, and it's Mitro again. But I know that you are a big fan of Dennis Adoy, but there is a difference between Dennis Adoy and Kenny Tete. You saw it here, Giannis, because the delivery that Kenny Tete can give and did give in this match was perfect for Mitro, and he puts it in the back of net. Let's talk about the goal, the opening goal from Fulham, and it's Mitro again.
Yeah, Tete was one of the bright lights last year, and I was a little nervous. Was he going to? He and Ola Aina, and whether they were going to stick around. I was glad Tete did, and he's not he's not going to be at 100% match fitness. I know they had a game behind closed doors during the break, but it's not really the same as a competitive game in front of a big crowd and what have you. So the fact that Monsieur Audouin was unavailable is sort of good news because he had to start. He's only going to get better, which is great. Mitro, the goal that Mitro scored for Serbia against Portugal was just a classic example of what happens if you provide service. If the Portuguese media have been really critical of Rui Patricio, that they thought that Mitro's header should have been saved. But the brilliance of it was the cross was pinpoint, and he headed it down, and he put it in a place where Patricio was going to go head first really into the post. And when you've got fullbacks that can deliver those crosses, you know that Mitro's going to get it at the end of it. He's and you think he's 27 now. He's at the peak. He's never played better. He's just come off the biggest game of his career, as he admitted. He's scored 21 goals now. He's scoring for fun. He's setting up goals as well. And the only sinister bit is his value is going up and up and up.
We talked about this, Giannis.
I did, yeah.
You did. You've already mentioned this. This is something that we'll have to talk about when we talk about the transfer window. His value continues to grow.
Absolutely. And the value, again, pinpointed that superb cross by Tete. And, when he scores and he goes off in his lovely little celebration, it calms the nerves. And then at that point, really, Barnsley, they tried that press, that Blackpool press. They've had some success. But now everybody's, A, getting bored of Blackpool's press, and B, we know what they do anyway. So, obviously, they've worked on that in training. And one of the ways to do it is really quicker passes and moving into pockets. And once we figured that out, Barnsley really, they weren't in it. I don't think they're a team that's going to go down there. Obviously, it's been helped by Derby's, 7,000 point deduction.
Right.
But what worried me, if I'm a Barnsley fan, apart from being a Barnsley fan, is the fact that you've got they're not really creating chances. They're
not scoring goals.
No, they're not scoring goals. They're going to need to have to try and they're going to need to get some reinforcements. Morris started for the first time in 3 months because of a knee injury. Obviously, Corley Woodrow was up front, but they need a little bit more guile. But that was a crucial goal. Mitro puts us in the lead, and I really didn't think from that point on the result was in doubt.
Okay, Giannis, and before we move ahead, I do want to share this comment because I find it pretty funny here. So this is from Christy. Is Giannis the new Fulham shadow? No, there's only one Fulham shadow. That is Emilio.
I'll be shadow, but I'm good with that. But do you know what though? It is really, isn't it funny? We got 26 points last year.
That's right.
We scored 9 goals at home, lest we forget. And it is astonishing to me that this is the same Mitrovic as 12 months ago. He just looks, I mean, so much happier, and we feed off that energy as well. And
Absolutely. Absolutely,
so
Giannis.
it's great. It's great to see. It's great to see him loving life and loving the game, and he's going to the World Cup, and good on him, because he certainly deserves a chance.
And I want to mention this because that's going to lead to about 10 minutes later, Fulham get their second, and Mitro was involved here again. He absolutely was. And it's not just about the goals for him. He is trying to get teammates involved. And unfortunately for Fabio Carvalho, late in the match, Mitro sets him up and his shot goes wide. But here, he actually scores. There was some fortune here. But I
Yes.
want to get your thoughts on the second goal. And also, I'm going to share this comment from our friend Steve Reynolds. The reaction from Carvalho after he scored towards the crowd. So I want to get your thoughts about all that.
Yeah, that's going to be the talk tomorrow, for sure. I don't tend to read. Let's put it this way. Here, I work in Toronto. I live just outside, and Toronto Raptors won the NBA championships a couple of years ago, and we had a player that became a free agent who we tried to absolutely woo, and we fed off every reaction to every bucket and every rebound, and thought he's staying, he's going to stay, and then he ended up leaving. So how players react, it's not like a Mitro where he's here till 2026. Right. He's a Fulham boy, and he could well be here for the rest of his career, unless somebody comes in with a silly bid, which of course we don't know. Carvalho, I suspect something's happening in the background, because I think that he may be being advised by others for saying, well, you can get a new agent. But take a look at the players that have left Fulham and what has happened. I mean, Harvey Elliott has made a bit of a mark. He's injured, obviously. But you got Patrick Roberts, you got Sessegnon, among others, and it's not worked for them. So I think there'll be people out there in the media that will say, look, you're a young lad. You get the chance to go to the Premier League, go, enjoy, learn, play against the top players, and then your game will improve, because A, you'll be playing with better players, and B, you'll be playing against better players. So I'm not going to read anything into the reaction. I have a sneaking suspicion that something is happening in the background.
Okay.
I've got no evidence to substantiate that, but just a hunch. And I hope he stays, but it saddens me when you got players that think the grass is green the other side, and their heads are turned. And their heads are turned often for money. And there are so many good players that end up sitting on benches or playing with the under-23s in Premier League clubs. Who have, look at Michael Hector. Look at our old boy Thomas Callas, and years and years. Lucas Piazon was the same as well.
That's right, same thing.
They rotted, and they're good footballers. And I don't care. You can earn as much money as you want, but players ultimately want to play. So if he stays at Fulham, he'll play. Absolutely. So why not stay? In any case, what Premier League team, Russ, is he going to walk into and start?
And that's the point, Giannis. I don't know. And I just fear, and again, we could talk about Ryan Sessegnon. You could talk about the success story of Harvey Elliott, because that could potentially be a success story. But for every Harvey Elliott, there's an Emerson Hyndman, okay?
Yes, an Emerson Hyndman.
We've already mentioned Roberts. There's the situation with Sessegnon. It happens more often than not. The grass isn't always greener. Sometimes it is. And I think he would benefit for staying with Fulham, especially if we get promoted to the Premier League. Get a short-term deal with Fulham.
Yeah.
You can leave in a couple of seasons. His value will go up, and that will help the club. It could be a win-win if he signs a new deal and isn't so quick to jump to the next situation. He's going to leave at some point, but I agree with you, Giannis. Stay at Fulham. Listen, I'm biased. I'm a Fulham supporter, but I think it would benefit his career if he stayed at Fulham because he's going to play regularly, and hopefully Fulham are in the Premier League and he showcases his talent in the Premier League.
Yeah,
Rather than being in a situation where, and I'll just throw out a team. It could be Aston Villa. It could be Newcastle. He might start some matches and then maybe he doesn't. He might not be playing regularly. I don't know of a team that can guarantee him playing regularly in the Premier League, except for potentially Fulham if he and the club get to the Premier League. I think he would start in the Premier League for Fulham. I don't see it for any other club.
Oh, well, mind you. Then again, he could right now. He could probably start for Man U. I mean, dilly dong. I mean,
Yeah.
you look. I hate what Ranieri did here. I mean, it was a walking mess. But even we have to laugh at the fact that Watford absolutely smashed United today. I know Harry Maguire got sent off, but they look utterly miserable. And right now, I think Fabio would get a game in there because they're a mess. Having said that, let's go. You go back to Mitro for a second. Now, Mitro,
right?
Mitro came to Fulham, and he has, by signing a contract to 2026, he has signalled his intent to stay as a Fulham player, and you don't often see that. And I think maybe Fabio can look at that. You got a player who's at the top of his game. He's one of the most recognised strikers in the world right now.
That's right.
So why not do that? Other thing, you mentioned earlier about the transfer thing. Something to watch out for. I laughed at it. Was Ashley Grimes? Was it Matt? I always get the names mixed. Matt Grimes. Sorry, Ashley Grimes. Matt Grimes resigning for Swansea City. I thought was very interesting because I don't think he's going to be there for long. I don't think he's going to be there that long. I think they've re-signed him on a contract because it makes him more sellable.
Possibly.
Yeah, I'm going to make that prediction that he could be going because I know we tried to get him, and we tried to also get a fella that you're going to get to know pretty soon, pretty well, and that's a Canadian player. Yes, Canada, top of CONCACAF, and a guy by the name of Stefan Eustáquio, who plays for a Pacos de Ferreiras in Portugal, and he has been fantastic for Canada. And he ran the show against Mexico. And I know Fulham wanted him, and I'd love to get him in because he's a very, very he's a neat, tidy, simple player. Never gives the ball away. Good passer of the ball, very mobile, decent in the defensive half. So I'm sorry, I veered away from Fabio Carvalho. But just thinking about the transfer window, there's a couple of really good players out there we could get where we can go in the Premier League and go, you know what, we're going to give some teams some real trouble here because they really won't fancy us. Unfortunately, that will mean we'll have to lose Monsieur Edouard.
Okay. Very good, Yanis. And like I mentioned, I plan on us doing a show about the transfer window and the approach of Fulham in January. Do you go with the idea that, hey, we're probably going to get promoted and you gear up now, or do you wait until the summer? It's interesting to look at because, again, the January transfer window is not usually meant for that. But do you change the way you do business in January? We'll talk about that because I find it fascinating. One last thing about the first half, and also we can talk about the second half. I want to get your thoughts about Michael Hector because Michael Hector's diagonal balls today I thought were excellent. Some of his other passing, not so much. But I want to give him credit for trying these diagonal balls. He's done it in other matches. It hasn't come off. It came off today, and I want to say I thought they were key for how Fulham played today. But I think it also gave him the confidence to try some other passes that did not come off that were a little dangerous, Giannis. I want to get your thoughts about Michael Hector.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't have a problem with spraying the balls around because it actually goes to show the value of what Joachim Andersen bought last year. Andersen's done really well at Palace. We knew how good a player he was. And we're seeing it now in the Premier League where he's putting in performances game in, game out. Unfortunately for Hector, he's not played a lot this year, and Tosin's suspension has given him an opportunity. He's probably not going to be in the lineup against Derby on Wednesday. I'm sure Tosin will come in, or maybe not. Maybe he'll give them another game. I like Hector, and he's an interesting story. We know that. He rotted basically at Chelsea, and we know he had a baptism of fire in the Premier League last year. But I don't mind that because it's the ability to stretch the field with wide players that can go one-on-one on the defenders. And it mixes up the play from the 1-2s, the patterns in the midfield, and what have you. And I think it's a variation. Not every centre back is going to be absolutely brilliant at sending those 30, 40-yard balls, but I applaud him for having a go because he knows that we're good enough to get the ball back in possession quickly to do what we normally do. So it's a variation, and I think we've missed that this year. I think if we'd stayed in the Premier League this year and made a bid for Anderson and he'd stayed.
Yeah.
And we bulked up, you could have really seen the value of having, playing Naiskins and Harry out wide. Because right. And I remember the goal against Sheffield United last year, the crossfield ball for Lookman was an absolute peach. And if you're watching Palace's performances this year, he's doing exactly the same thing. And now he's popping up with the odd goal or two as well. And we missed that. So I like Hector doing it. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the long-term plans. But he's shown in these 3 games that he's more than capable. He filled in for Tosin. And as we hit the mucky and grimy of the Christmas break and the New Year and the FA Cup, we're going to need him because he gives us strength and depth that most teams in the division just don't have.
Totally agree, Yanis. Okay. So let's now switch to the second half. We will end with talking about man of the match. But before we do that, let's talk about the third goal for Fulham. And again, this pretty much put it away, even though we'll mention Barnsley scoring, and credit to them for scoring a goal. But Giannis, I want to get your thoughts on the goal from Neeskens Cabano. He continues to make himself a nuisance and actually be a very valuable player for Fulham. And this is set up by Harry Wilson. Again, some of these goals are more like team goals, and Harry Wilson's involved here. Thoughts on Neeskens Cabano?
It was a brilliant setup. It was a brilliant goal, and an unpopular opinion, and I know I'm going to get criticised for this. As of now, Cabano's my player of the season.
Wow.
I mean, he's
That's hard with Mitro. That's hard, Giannis.
Yeah, it really is. I think he has his lease of life. If you remember the end of the pandemic, there was the post. We had 7-8 games, and Scotty brought Naiskins back, and then all of a sudden, lots and lots of school. Then we went Premier League, and of course he was discarded. He is so dangerous on the ball. I mean, he frightens the bejeevers out of teams. The goal against Peterborough before the international break was so good, and it was just the way he was able to drag 3 defenders and just one quick step, crossover, Mitra puts in the back of the net. It was a wonderfully worked goal. And actually, I'm glad you mentioned Harry, because Harry was part of that. And I read a really good article in the week about Harry Wilson and analysing and assessing whether Liverpool made a really big mistake in letting Harry Wilson go for 12 million, because Harry's 24. They don't have a natural successor for Mo Salah, who's 30.
They absolutely do not.
No. And Mo Salah's wanted by Barcelona amongst other teams. Now, if you look at his output during his loan periods, and you look at his output this season, it's just gone through the roof. And you watch his performances for Wales as well. He's one of the first star people that Rob Page puts on the game sheet. So I don't know if Liverpool have an option to buy him back. I'm assuming that they don't. No. But if they don't, this kid is only going to get better. And
absolutely,
he I think I said to you last game, he reminds me of, obviously, very much of Damien Duff, the player that's going to cut him from the right.
Right.
But he's got more mobility, and he's so unselfish in his play, and he's really good with his link-up play as well. And there's so many weapons, having Naiskins, having Mitro, having Harry,
and Fabio Carvalho. I mean, really.
Yeah, and Tom Kenny, and Barnsley couldn't handle the movement of passing. It really did them in second half. They were chasing 6s and 7s, and they never looked settled.
They didn't, Giannis, and I'm glad that we're talking about Harry Wilson. We mentioned the 4th goal. I also said that Barnsley scored to make it 3-1, but Wilson scores. And let's also talk about the fact that Fulham can bring Jean-Michael Seri off the bench, Giannis, and he makes a difference with his passing. Right now, Fulham deserve to be where they are because they have so many talented players. But I want to mention this. They all seem like they are not only talented players, but team players. They're trying to play within a team concept and help each other out. And here's another example of that. like I mentioned, these goals, and then of course you have the opportunity later on from Fabio, which is set up for Mitro. Mitro could have been selfish there and tried to beat the keeper, but he passed it off. That's what we're seeing. And this is another situation. So you have a goal from Harry Wilson, and I'm glad that you mentioned the situation with Liverpool. I really don't care about Liverpool, so I'm happy that we have them. I'll just mention that.
Yeah, we stole it. We you know what?
In the end, it's going to look better for Fulham. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
Tony Khan, I'll give him credit for this one because I think it's an absolute ruddy steal.
Okay.
It's because he's playing that well, and it's not just the criticism of Mitro was, well, he's a champion striker, but he does it for Serbia. But look at Harry Wilson; he's also doing it in the international stage as well. So it's great. It's great for us at the moment.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's all right. To finish up, coming up next, we're going to talk about man of the match. If you're watching live with us, please feel free to share who was your man of the match. Okay, Giannis, let's finish up the show. And I just want to mention this because last week I actually called into 606 because they were doing a special show on the EFL, and Aaron Paul was hosting, and I saw it on Facebook. So I thought I would call. So Reese Kemp heard me, and thank you for mentioning that I was on. I was on 606, and my argument was about the situation with Parker versus Marco Silva and why I am happy for what's going on with Fulham, that I'm glad that we have Marco Silva, and I gave full credit to Scott Parker, and we'll obviously be talking about Scott Parker coming up shortly as Fulham get ready to play Bournemouth in the coming weeks. But I'm glad that Reese mentioned that I was on 606. And I ended my discussion with the guys, and I just asked them a question. Basically said, can you name Fulham players that have improved under Marco Silva? And I named the players. And I just said, you know what? Mitrovic, Seri, Cabano, all these players have gotten better under Silva, and they did not get better under Parker. And that's how I ended my conversation. Anyone that is curious, go back and listen to last week's 606. And I'm on in the beginning stages. Anyways, enough of talking about me. Giannis, let's get to man of the match. Who was your man of the match?
Niskins.
Niskins Cabano.
Yeah. And the point you just made there about your prince on the 606 about the improvement of players, I've got to say this, that one of the big differences between the two coaches for me is that Scotty played the players to the system he wanted.
That's right.
Whereas Marco has created a system based on the players that he has. And the
strengths of the players, Giannis.
Strengths of the players. I mean, you can see that with Mitro. I mean, last year, just use an example, he was starved of service. And you have to play to the strengths of your best players. And he, Marco Silva's done that. But I like the fact that he's a terra firma gunner. He says, you know what? And he's going to say it, another win. Who cares? You know what? We've got Derby on Wednesday. It's going to be a difficult game. Naskins, I thought, was magnificent today. He is just, he's one of many players in this squad that you just are so likable as well.
Absolutely. This team is likable.
The characters. I mean, I don't know if you follow on Instagram Joe Bryan. Joe Bryan, and he's a fanatical reader, and he has a book club. And he's always recommending books. I mean, he's a complete bookworm, probably book nerd. And, and we know he's had some struggles in the past. And these are humble players. These aren't, Mario Balotelli's going to start riding his Vespa into a lake. These are down and out individuals. Like when we talk to Robbo, who I know is listening, or Ivor, people that you could have a pint with in a pub. And that's what makes this even more special, because they're nice lads, they're nice, they're good professionals and good people. They're not jackasses. They won't go tell you to F off. And it's true. No, it's true. You get a lot of these players, can I have an autograph, sir? And they tell you to F off. Whereas these are people that will stay behind. Yeah, give autographs. Yep. And that's what kids want to gravitate to. That's what adults love to gravitate to. And I think it's really reflective. Naskins is always has a happy smile on his face. So today I thought he was excellent, and I'm delighted he scored as well.
Okay, excellent. I've got a lot of comments about man of the match, so we'll start from the beginning. This is from Wayne Walden. Good evening, Russ. Harry Wilson, man of the match for me. Good old Fulham. We will win the league now. I hope you're right. I want to share more comments. It's from Dave Cronin. As well as Mitro is doing Cabano as my player of the season so far. That's what you said, Giannis. So I find that interesting. So we go to a James Baldwin, man of the match, Fabio or Reen. So we go to Chris D. Man of the match was Cabano. Kearney played well too. So, and then I believe later on I have a run of people who said Cabano. So here they go. Steve Turner, Cabano. Emma Reynolds, Cabano. I've already mentioned Dave Cronin, Cabano. Stephen Murray, Cabano.
Yeah.
So it is a runaway with Neeskens Cabano. So I certainly understand that. And like we just mentioned, he is thriving under Silva, and we're lucky to have him. And like you said, he's a likable character. So are so many of these players. Anyways, Giannis, I do have to wrap this show up. But before we go, I want to thank you, as always, for doing it with me. I didn't get you on camera, but at least I could talk to you today.
Not a loss, and I'm going to do a quickie prediction. We might get the chance to do a show before Derby. But I was watching the Benjamin Bloom podcast, and if you guys know Benjamin Bloom's championship,
It's
incredible. It's incredible. It just
he does a great job.
Oh, amazing! And he always start laughing when he does his predictions, and he yells out, home, away, or draw. So right. I'm going to make a prediction for the game against Derby.
Okay.
And in his words, he'd say, "Home."
Okay. Very good.
Bring on the Rams. Bring on the Rams.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, listen, as always, thank you everyone who watched and listened live, but we do have to wrap this up. For Giannis and I'm Russ Goldman, thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk.